We were previously talking about conscientious objector to war in any form, and the best I could do to kind of lead us into the energy of this moment to get a proper handle on it. Let's read Matthew chapter 5. It's dealing with many blessings for certain descriptions of people, and part of it brings us into the idea of peace. So I'm gonna start at the beginning of it. So this is Matthew 5, 3 to verse 12. It reads, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Conscientious objection is about the closest you could ever get in our society to an idea of peace. Now, there's been many people that have thought they were conscientious objectors. The only concern with our world under conscientious objector is that we usually only go so far. We generally take it to a level only on the idea of actually bearing a firearm, a physical firearm, but we don't understand that the word peaceable means free from the character of war. To be free from the character of war and have a warlike symbol in your name would be completely contradictory. So the arms or the surname is technically a written symbol in your name that would imply the fact, and when you express it and say it and speak it, you're armed. And therefore, it would be like walking into a battle with a gun and saying you're unarmed. So therefore, even if you're walking into a secular or civil court and you state a surname, it is automatically understood that you're bearing arms. Conscientious Objector, Black's 4th edition, has a fairly straightforward rendering of it. It says, "One who by reason of religious training and belief is conscientiously opposed to participation in war. One conscientiously opposed on religious grounds to participation in war need not be a member of a religious sect whose creed forbids participation in war to be entitled to classification as a conscientious objector." You can read that in two ways, because what it's really saying is, just because you may not be affiliated with a denomination, in other words, a spin-off of an idea of just not accepting the idea that you're a Christian, you have to come up with another name for it. So we'll come up with various religious denominations, so everybody's right, I'm going to be a Lutheran, I'm going to be an Anglican, I'm going to be a Catholic, we're all Christian, but I got to come up with another name off of it in order to kind of home in an idea that this one's better than the other one. But Christianity is Christianity, and that is the intellectual property of Jesus Christ, so I do not need to create another idea of a church. On the other hand, in protection in there, because they could see that it doesn't need to be someone from a particular religious creed or denomination, because that would imply you'd have to be a Mennonite, a Hutterite, or someone who's been known not to bear arms in war or not to participate. So this leaves it open-ended that it would bring us back to the idea that you could still be a Christian and not part of a religious sect, because a sect is a branch off of something. So you do not have to be part of a sect in order to qualify, which brings you back to the general idea of one name being Christian. Therefore, if you are a professor of the teachings of Christ, you are a Christian. If you believe in his doctrines and what he taught, then you are a Christian. And if you follow it, that is the key thing. If you follow it, then certainly you'd be a pacifist. And a pacifist would bear arms under no particular demand. So it doesn't matter how you're put up against the wall, you would never, ever, ever take up arms. Unfortunately, we've taken up arms in our name, which has totally removed us from the idea of being a Christian pacifist. the final end of this definition says, it is sufficient if he has a conscientious scruple against war in any form. Now, understanding that when you participate in democratic society, you fill out forms. And that means you're engaged. And generally in democracy, we have an idea that we take private use of something public under the guise that it really is public, but we're going to do it for private gain because we're really not working for love, we're working for money. And that's why a job is defined as official public business for private dishonest gain in Webster's dictionary. So you'd have to find one that has a fairly good thickness because you're not going to get that in a convenient, abbreviated, small desktop version. So anyways, the next point that we're going to go into beyond that is the idea of a Latin term. Most people have not heard this term before, but it's fides non armis, which is faith, not arms. And we have to lay down our arms in order to be a Christian, because you cannot pose on both sides of this. You cannot participate with something that contains an arms and then claim the grace of being a Christian. So there is a difference between grace and legal. The minute that you bear arms, you are now a legal person, a legal fiction. You're now into the fiction of man's society. We're going to read John 14, which gives us some further clarification on this subject. John 14 is telling us what Christ left us. What did he leave us as Christians upon his death? So John 14:25-27 says, "These things I have spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." So remember that a child is born unarmed in law. A child does not take on arms.